Now we're sitting here in San Francisco, so I have to ask you about "Sadness Will Sear,"
Yep.
which is an outrageously powerful song about the story of Matthew Shepard. And you know you've written some great long multisyllabic words from trepidation all the way down, but to me the most powerful word on that whole album was "sear."
Shepherd is chased by the wolves, wolves who live by intolerance and hate for what they couldn't understand. Blinded and vicious saw the beast eating and ripping at a beautiful human who did nothing more than be himself. Tied to the fences they break you, and sadness will sear. Cold is the wind that will freeze you, and sadness will sear.
You know, I wanted to make something that was general at first about homophobia and about that story, but it's the Shepherd story that seemed the best because I you know, with his name as well, you know, thinking of it as a different kind of shepherd, not but like the sheep herder kind of thing, someone that would lead, and you know, I wanted to think of it as more
And
of
his
like
real role is to protect against the wolves, which was the other great image of it.
exactly, and I thought when I was thinking of seer, I thought of really hellacious, like just pain and hell-like torment, and so I wanted to make that more of like a physical, like where you can picture that. You can picture the searing of skin or something like that. And you know, I've actually met a lot of our fans who've done score reports on it afterwards. You know, I know it was an older story when I wrote it. It wasn't something that was incredibly current, but it was one of those things where I needed something very specific to convey my goal, like the goal of where I wanted the song to go. And it definitely was a hard song to write. Definitely a hard song to look into, but lyrically that whole record was, so it definitely flowed well with it.
Well, that whole record I thought was an incredible inspiration. I very, very much enjoyed it. And just as kind of a personal aside, and you may tell me I'm full of shit, which is always totally, you know, that was an album in which you really came out and spoke very strongly and very vividly against hatred, and yet it seemed like it generated the haters out there. I mean, the haters really reacted.
No, it really did. It really did. Well, I think what that record did was weed out the people that were just into us because we're one of those trendy bands. You know, looking around nowadays, you can see which bands are kind of the in bands, the buzz bands. They're smaller bands, but they could potentially become something. And, you know, when we were coming out, we were lumped into a specific fad. We were lumped in that metalcore fad a lot when Ascendancy came out. But Ascendancy is not a metalcore record, just that a lot of the bands were doing the same formula as us. Same with, you know, a lot of the bands are kind of coming from the hardcore scene. They're doing a lot what death metal is doing nowadays. And yeah, it definitely got a lot of people. It showed the people that early that we're going to do anything. You know, we're not afraid to do the opposite of what we normally do and to test what we can do as musicians or as songwriters. So yeah, I think we definitely lost some people. I don't know if they ever came back. But our thing was, like, if you're gonna hate our band just because we try something musically, it's like you were never really into us in the first place. You know, because what people should always want from their bands is a band making the kind of music that's true to themselves. And that record was as true as can get. We wanted to make something that was the opposite of what we just did.
And can I just say, one of the things that pisses me off when I hear people talk about Trivium is, you know, they say, oh, they want to be like Metallica. And I'm like, no, they don't want to be like Metallica. If anything, if you want to compare them to a classic band, without being insulting about it, it's your label mates, it's Megadeth. It's two strong lead guitars, and it's intelligent political lyrics. And so to me, and I always thought Megadeth was 50 times the band that Metallica ever was.
I would agree with you.
So
Megadeth's probably favorite band. Yeah, my favorites are definitely Beatles, Queen, Metallica. Those are the ones for me.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, you can feel free to tell me I'm full of shit
no,
at any
that's
time.
awesome. No, I love how people, like, our band is there for people to interpret their own ways, and that's what I like. Because, you know, when I go, because I'm really into, like, go to museums and stuff. Like when we played Seattle the other day, I went to the Seattle Art Museum. I wish I could have went to the museum today, but there wasn't time. I went to Chicago Art Museum and did a Chicago
Your tweet about that.
Yeah, and I love doing that stuff because it's like, I love to be able to look at a piece, because for me it's different when I listen to songs, but I can imagine for people that, you know, aren't necessarily in bands who can hear music and they hear what it is to them, and that's what I want it to be. Like, there isn't really a wrong answer. and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when I buy the music, it's mine.
Exactly.
It's mine.
So when I see that piece in a museum, like, this means this to me, and I read the explanation, like, I don't agree with that. That's going to mean what it means to me. Yeah, that's the way I like it.
Visually, what visual artists? Who are your favorite?
When I first, like, I wasn't super into art at first, but the girl who is now my fiance, she took me out to the Louvre in Paris, and it was the first museum I'd ever been in, like since school field trips and stuff, and it blew my mind, like seeing all the, ancient European art and stuff like that, and I was really into it. So I go into them all the time and try to see, like, fine art museums. But lately I've been getting into, like, modern contemporary art. I got to go to the Tate Modern in London and see this old factory converted into all, like, modern and contemporary art, and I've really liked that lately because it's their interpretation of what art should be. They don't follow any of the rules, and they just do what they feel like. I'm assuming, and I really like that a lot. So that's the way I like to do music, because I don't know formal music. I don't know music theory. I can't read music on guitar. I've thought about teaching myself, but then I thought I might give myself too many rules. So I just rather make my own rules and go with it.
I think you're doing pretty damn well right now, right? Because we're talking lyrics today, but your guitar playing blows me away. I mean, I think it's very evocative. I think it does do just what you were just saying there, which is that it frees me to be able to explore where I want to go musically, as well as a listener.
Exactly.